Good morning. My name is Scott Hayashi, and I am the Bishop for the Episcopal Diocese of Utah. Let me begin first by just asking you the question, how many here in this room have been personally touched by gun violence? Okay, that's a fair number of us here. One of the things that I had to think about when I was asked to speak at this service was whether or not I would. It's not because I don't have strong feelings about gun ownership and the nonsense that passes for logic in our country. It was a pastoral sense, frankly, that I turned back and forward in my mind, thinking about the Sandy Hook slaughter that took place a year ago. And the reason I was turning that over in my mind back and forth was because I was trying to put myself in the place of that community, the people I know in that community who work directly with the families in the school who had absolutely nothing to give them except a hug. And I thought about them, and I thought about the ones the parents who lost children, loved ones who lost family members, and turned it back and forward in my mind and said, goodness, if I was one of them, I think I'd want to leave the country at this time of year. I don't know if I would really want to sit in a service like this one and be reminded. Goodness knows they've been reminded over and over again. And with each reminder, it's like tearing a wound back open that might have scabbed over a little bit. In each service like this, in each report, it's like their loved one dies again. So I really had to think about whether or not I would come to this service to participate out of the pastoral sense of thinking about them. And what swayed me in the end to say yes is, I think, contained in some of what you just heard from Sven. And perhaps it's the case that the ones who need to have their wound opened up is not them. It's us, you see. We are the ones who need to have any kind of healing that's taken place ripped back open again, forcefully. In order that we don't just return to hoping it won't happen again. We are the ones, frankly, who need to think about the loss of life of young ones in order that we would do all we can to stop it from happening. That we who live here in Utah, who supply so many gun licenses, concealed weapon permits, for the United States of America, not just for us. The greater percentage of them actually are given to people who do not live in Utah. We live in this state. We live in a state that I believe is trying to openly court gun manufacturers to come to Utah, to give them business breaks, because we want their business. This is the sort of thing that a service like this is for, is to rip that open for us to say, no. Just no. Now, there aren't a lot of us here this morning, are there? Not truly. And when I look at that and I say, Jesus only had 12. 12, and one of the 12 wasn't very good. As a matter of fact. And so if Jesus can do that with 12, or 12 people can go forward, then so can we. And the change of that world didn't happen overnight, my friends, because it's been 2,000 years. And I have absolutely frankly, no feeling inside of me or belief inside of me that we going from here will affect change in this state this year, or in the years to come. What we're trying to do is change, as you first said, look at an entire system, a way of being, and shift that. And that just takes year after year after year after year. But it won't happen at all unless we are the kind of people who remain raw in our feelings, who do not let scar tissue just come up and coat ourselves so we don't have to feel it anymore. It remains for us an open and bloody wound. For otherwise, we will lull ourselves into the sense or our belief of thinking, well, it hasn't happened to me, so maybe it won't. Now, we here in Utah had the Trolley Square incident, which still haunts us to this very day. We here in Utah have had cases just recently of parents who wanted to have a gun in the home to protect themselves, only to have their own child take the gun and shoot themselves. We here in Utah live with this day in and day out. We have legislators who seemingly can't understand the danger that our stance has exposed all of us to. And one of the things that I have thought about over the period of time that I have tried to understand this is there seems to be a fundamental difference between those of us who want to do something sensible to limit violence, gun violence being one, and those who insist that they want to protect themselves and protect their rights. And one of the differences between the two, I think, is a sense of saying, those of us who want to protect ourselves by limiting violence, and particularly gun violence, don't want to do it just for me or you. We want to do it for everybody. You see, it's not protecting my individual safety or my individual rights. It's protecting the safety of the entire people. And we believe that we're safer entirely as a country by having sensible legislation and by protecting the rights of all people instead of those who simply want to own a gun. So we have a corporate sense about it. We have a sense of being a people as opposed to just being one person who wants to protect himself or herself. And I think that's what we have to maintain, is that that's what we want. All of us, you see, the 20 and then the 6 adults and all their relatives. And even, God help them, the poor fellow who did the violence in the first place to protect such a person as that, so that person doesn't do it. Now, I will confess to you that people who believe that if they only had a gun or a teacher had a gun are simply mistaken. I confess to you, I know this because things develop so quickly that there's no chance. I know this because I was held up when I was a teenager and shot. And before I even knew what was happening, I was already on the floor. If I had had a gun with me, it would have been absolutely useless. In fact, it might have been used against me. Because it's not like the movies, my friends, where you get a shot of the person walking into the building, or you get the shot of the person who's preparing the gun at home to go out and do something, and then everybody in the audience can see it's developing. It doesn't work like that at all. It just happens like this. I mean, there's no time. It just happens. So you and I, for the sake of all people, not just you or me, but the sake of all people, must continue to feel, must continue to be outraged. For if we lose that, we will lose the energy to continue to work forward to make the changes that need to be made. Again, I am for the rights of all of the people. And I am for the protection of all of the people. And I do not believe that that is best done with 310 million guns. So, in closing, once again, as much as we remember what happened in Sandy Hook, and as much as we, in our outpouring of love for them, offer prayers in a service like this, let us then remember that as we gather together, it is in order that we remain sensitive, feeling, and open. Because I can assure you, the parents who lost the children, the loved ones who lost their spouse or sister, their wound is wide open. We need to keep ours open too.